Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Weekend Winners in association with BetVictor. This is usually your go-to show for your best bets ahead of the weekend action, but this week we are looking at the Cheltenham Festival. We're going to be getting our best bets ahead of the 4 biggest days in the National Hunt racing calendar, and I'm going to be getting said bets from my usual company of Declan Ricks of AtTheRaces.com and Sam Boswell of BetVictor. Sam, we are almost there. We've had months and months of talking about the biggest week of the entire calendar for jump racing, but just how excited are you?
Very. I obviously have to be a foot in both camps as both a punter who likes to have a bet at Cheltenham and also working for a bookmaker. So it's a different sort of perspective for me, but still, nonetheless, very exciting week. Can't wait. Plenty of action to unfold. And
Declan, usually a happy betting hunting ground for you?
Yeah. I'd love to sit here and say every year is a winning year, but it's definitely not the case. But look, it's the participation that gets the blood boiling, and as long as my horses are in with a shout and a good few races, and I can lose my mind shouting and roaring at the telly, I don't mind. But I'd love to say it's been a winning Cheltenham every single year, but it hasn't, unfortunately.
We would have believed you, to be honest, if you had said that. But
well, you believe anything then.
To be fair, gullible middle name completely. And to be fair, I'll probably be swallowing up a whole load of the tips that you'll be giving me then with very good insight, of course, in this show. Now, we are going to be getting onto our best bets imminently, but just a reminder to please do gamble responsibly. We say it every single week that our tips are not guaranteed to win, but we will still do our best to point you in the right direction. And do make sure to like and subscribe to the At The Races YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. Right, time to crack on with the racing, because we're going to begin with our best bets in the novice hurdles. Of course, we have a whole load of races to go at then for this. But Declan, starting with yourself, please. Novice hurdlers, where are we looking?
Yeah, look, I tried to go a little bit outside of the box because kind of technically we are in still kind of an anti-post kind of mode, so I'm just looking to get a bit of value in the bank. I thought Jatara in the Jack de Bromhead Mare's novice hurdle was overpriced. Really likeable mare. Every time she's gone to the racetrack, she's improved. She's got a big pedigree. She's by sire sensation walking the park, and the dam is related to a whole host of winners like Jess Key, Jet, a classy family. A horse is bred by Jerry McGrath. He's had great fun with that family, but I just love she's improved with every run. At Leopardstown over Christmas, she ran behind High Definition, and she was very well found in the market. They clearly thought she'd go well in what is generally a warm maiden at Leopardstown. I thought she was pretty green and raw with her jumping, but she still jumped well. And then down the back straight as well, High Definition jumped right into her, and it didn't seem to faze her. I like that. Now, that form wouldn't be good enough, but she took a big step forward last time out in the Sol Arena hurdle. She's going to face the Willie Mullins mare again, but this time she's going to be £5 better off, and she's about 3 or 4 times the price. Just in terms of value in a bet, that was the way I go. She's trained by Jesse Harrington. The yard haven't been in great form. I'd just like to see maybe a little bit of life in the coming days if Jesse has runners, just to further strengthen the case. And if they do, the horse, she's well overpriced.
And like I say, from that really likeable family that we all know, they've all got a little bit of a screw loose, haven't they, that family? But she's a fair price, though, anyway.
No, absolutely, yeah. She's about 14, 16 to 1, just in terms of kind of pounds per length and whatnot. £5 being better off with the Mullins mare beating a length, in theory, she should turn the tables and she's a much bigger price. But it doesn't always work like that, as we well know.
Declan, swinging for the fences already then, Sam. So he's teed it up for us quite nicely there. We're going for a bit shorter price horses, but your own selection.
Yeah, I've gone round in circles a little bit and ended up going for Hermes Allen and the Ballymore. I think now at 11 to 4, current price at time of recording, I think this horse is a really fair price. The Challow form for me looks like it's worked out really nicely. The second's obviously gone on, and we'll talk about her a bit later on. The fourth and the fifth have both won since, and I kind of just looked at that race. It was very soft conditions, and I thought to myself, well, looking through that, I'm fairly confident the horse will handle whatever the weather comes. Obviously, we're recording this a few days out. We don't know how soft or good the ground is going to be, and that's obviously a bit of a concern. So a horse that's won on good ground at Stratford and soft ground at Newbury in December, for me, ticks that box. I'm not worried about that. Paul Nicholls comes into the festival absolutely flying, 30% strike rate at the moment. And I think I kind of wonder, is it maybe the fact that Willie Mullins' horse is now taking a bit more attention in that market, that we're getting 11 to 4 for a horse that I think has done absolutely nothing wrong, looks rock solid, and I think will be a real player in that. So that's why I came down on his side.
Oh, so flying a tiny little Union Jack there, that's all right. We've at least got something to focus in on then to start with for the home contingent going to the Ballymore of Hermes Aled. I'm not, though. I'm going back across the pond for Barry Connell's horse with Marine Nationale in the Supreme. Our first race, the first race on day one of the festival, and the roar's going to go up. Probably the nap of the day is the fact that we might just get a false start. That's a given. That and good to soft ground for the first day. There are two sort of givens, aren't they? But hopefully Marine Nationale. Now, we know his trainer, Barry Connell, has been as bullish as you could possibly see a trainer about this horse. And to be fair, he hasn't been proven wrong yet with him either. I think this horse is, no pun intended, supremely talented. And we knew he was going to get put away over the winter to avoid the soft ground then throughout the winter to come back for the Spring Festival. And I think that Michael O'Sullivan, he is a fantastic jockey. He gets nothing wrong whatsoever. He really is just a talent that has burst onto the scene of late and picked up by this yard. But I think he had so much faith in this horse in the Royal Bond, because I like to see races won before going to the last, where we talk about this horse and connections always say about how much of a turn of foot he has, how much pace he has. I think that Michael O'Sullivan was slightly reliant on that, though, when he went to the last. And because he's a novice for horse, he did fluff the last. Yeah. And that put him on the back foot, yet he was still able to get up. He had no right to win that race. And I know he only won by a narrow margin over Irish Point, and people are using that as a stick to beat Marine Nationale with. I still think Irish Point's a solid horse. I know he disappointed at Leopardstown, but he was never put into the race there. He's a likeable type. Marine Nationale had no right to beat him, went on to beat him anyway. We've shown he finds for pressure. He has that turn of foot. And with the doubts about the favourite, Marine Nationale is just a given for me at that current price. So selection for me then, Marine Nationale. Declan, just to reiterate.
Yeah, it's going to be Jetra in the Jack de Promed Mares Novice Hurdle for
Perfect.
me.
And Sam?
Hermes Allen in the Ballymore, but I'll be cheering your selection, Kate, because Fassar Vega, our worst loser as it stands in the book.
Oh, well, I'd love to do a favour and help the bookies out wherever I can, of course. Right, but we are going to move on then to the novices now, the Novice Chase division. So, Sam, would you like to kickstart us this time around with your best Novice Chase bet?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty unoriginal here, but I think this horse hasn't been spoken about enough, and it's Gordon Elliott's Jerry Colombier, who's 13-8 at time of recording, which I think's a really fair price in a race that's going to cut up, surely. Unbeaten, arrives here, yes, with a lofty reputation, but I'm a little bit surprised we've not heard a bit more sort of in the preview circuit of him being talked up as a nap material, banker material, if you like. And his run at Sandown last time out was really impressive to me. He was very clever. He fiddled one of the fences, but he got his feet right. And Sandown, for a novice, I always imagine must be a pretty good test of their jumping. Those fences down the back come so quickly. I'm really keen on him. He's unbeaten. He arrives here. The trip's going to be no issue at all. I just think he ticks so many boxes. And I suppose you look through the race. Sir Gerhard, are you really particularly worried about him off the back of the season he's had? Personally not. The Real Whacker, I think, is a good yardstick, a good horse, but I'd say the Elliott Yard would know how good he is in comparison, having obviously run a horse against him recently. So for my money, I just thought he was a great bet. If you're going to look towards the front of the market for any of the novice chasers, and I do think they'll cut up as well. If you like your each way action, I'd get involved sooner rather than later. Yeah,
I think all of the novice chasers are going to cut up, aren't they? Like I say, but apart from the Arkle, it's kind of a bit of a muddle with the rest of the novice chasers though, Declan, is it? Or where are we looking for you?
Yeah, the novice chase mark, I found it hard to kind of get one at a decent price. I was toying with the Real Whacker actually in the Brown Advisory, but I went a bit closer to home in terms of lower market expectations in terms of John Bon in the Arkle. Look, I think there's no doubt about it that Il Fabiolo's got the best chase form, but you know, I think he's been given the opportunity to run to higher levels. I think John Bon's taken to fences so well. Like I know the last day at Warwick he did jump a little bit right, but you know, by all accounts he was as big as myself there in the parade ring, and he's going to come forward for the run. The other thing as well, I don't think Warwick is probably his track. You know, it's very sharp. That was good ground that day, and you know the race. It was a very good ride by Harry Skelton on Calico, you know, just to kind of set the race alive, and it caught John Bon and maybe Aidan Coleman on the hop a little bit. I think that would have brought him forward. And I know this is very counterintuitive in some ways, but I much prefer John Bon's prep to Il Fabiolo. Like Il Fabiolo, like he ran off his face in that Irish Arkle. That was a serious race. They went a good gallop the whole way. He posted a very strong time figure. there could be a little chance that he just maybe recoils off it. If John Bond runs his race and El Fabiola beats him fair and square, I think we're talking about a seriously exciting Queen Mother Champion Chase prospect. But John Bond, for me, I think he's a better jumper. He's bigger and stronger this year. He's a full brother to Duvan, who was an absolute machine on soft ground. I think all this rain that Cheltenham are having at the moment, I think is a big plus for him. Warwick was a little bit probably quicker than ideal on a sharp track. But for a big horse, I love how he cornered. I love how he changed leads. The old course of Cheltenham's going to suit him much better. I think we might get bigger because having kind of dipping in at Cheltenham preview nights. Everybody seems to be with Il Fabiolo, so I'm hoping the market takes a plunge on the Mullins horse and we get an even bigger price about John Bond.
I'm not sure we can do that for you, Declan. We'll have to wait and see. But Dysart Dynamo in there, obviously, you quite pleased to see a bit of pace in the race?
No, absolutely, and I think that will suit Aidan Coleman. I think Aidan Coleman just take a lead on him this year. Last year in the Supreme, I think if you listen to the whispers and the rumours, they knew they couldn't beat Constitution Hill if Constitution Hill ran his race. So they went out and tried to make it a big test and break him, but it only played into his hands. This year, Aidan Coleman, I think, is on probably the best horse in the race. Ride him like a proper horse, take a lead and, just let his class and his ability and his jumping shine.
They're not going to make the same mistake as in the Supreme last year, like say, by trying to take on.
And we shouldn't forget, last year as well, the opening day of the Cheltenham Festival, that ground was pretty rapid for National Hunt ground. I know it's spring ground or whatever, but, it was good, tending to good to firm, I thought.
But you make the good point about his brother then Duvan on softer ground as well, so not too concerned about that. Now, I am going for the other end of the trip scale, the not quite 4 miler, the 3 mile sixer as it's catchily been dubbed nowadays. For Gaillard du Mesnil, he's going to be a horse that is going to be a banker of so many people going into the festival, and it's another race where we're expecting it to cut up. We think that Patrick Mullins has got his way and that he's managed to persuade Willie to run Gaillard du Mesnil in this race. Of course, he brings so much experience into this second season chaser. His jumping has stood up to the test of big field staying handicap chases as well as Grade 1 contests, and he's just an out and out stayer with that experience. I don't see an unexposed horse coming here that's going to be better than him or that's going to be good enough to beat him in the current lineup. So Gaillard du Mesnil it's got such a long name, hasn't it, this race? So the 3 mile six of a National Hunt Challenge Cup, whatever we're calling it now. For me though, Sam,
Jerry, for me, like my favourite Spice Girl.
That's a good question, actually, isn't it? Your favourite Spice Girl, Declan, and your tip for the novice chasers.
And John Bond for me, but not because I like John Bon Jovi.
Musical references left, right and centre, not what we were expecting to get today. So again, though, do let us know your own selections for the novice chasers. Now we're going to move on to the championship races. We have the big 4 races that we're going to be looking at here now. So Declan, championship races we're moving on to. Your best bet in these?
Yeah, the best bet, I did try to find something at a decent price here, and I've gone for Brave Man's Game in the Gold Cup. I think it's been very interesting the last 7 or 10 days. There's been a lot of momentum in the market. He's been very well found in the Gold Cup market the last kind of week or so. He was as big as 8s or 9s. I think he's top price 13-2 now. And I suspect that's because he's in good order. I know Mick Fitzgerald of Sky Sports Racing went down to visit Paul Nicholls a couple of weeks ago, and he said he saw him and he said he just looks incredible. But the last time he went to Cheltenham, that wasn't the case. Mick said he was down at the start and he just crumbled before his eyes. I think, a lot of people will say, oh, he's been to Cheltenham, he didn't handle the track, etc., etc. I think we've got to give him one more chance for the simple reason that he's a completely different horse. He's a much better horse now at the moment. He's the best jumper in the field. Galopin Des Champs is obviously the horse to beat, but I'm not certain about him at the trip. I know Willie Mullins has said he's won over 3 miles over hurdles, and he's won over the last day of the Irish Gold Cup over 3 miles. But they absolutely crawled around the last day in that Irish Gold Cup. People were saying, oh, he was very strong from the back of the last of the line. Well, you'd bloody hope so. They didn't go any gallop, and it really played into his strength. It was a test of speed. Look, I think if that Plutard comes back to his best, he's a massive price, but the market's not suggesting that. Statler, proper stay. I'm not sure he's going to have the gears of a Brave Man's Game, and I just really like him. And is there a better trainer in the game of staying chasers than Paul Nicholls? I don't think so. Went back and watched the King George again last night. An unbelievable performance given the trip he had. long press made his life very, very difficult throughout, jumping left. The time and the sectionals combo of the race were outstanding, and I love he's coming here fresh as well. So yeah, brave man's game for me in the Gold Cup.
Oh, to handle the track then for the undulations and the stiff finish, and not entirely sure about Galopin Des Champs' stamina. So he's going in there with contentious views at least. Anyway, what we tend to expect and what we hope from Declan, Sam. But who are you looking towards? Yeah,
well, I half agree with Declan, actually. I want to try and take the favourite on in the Gold Cup. I just agree. He's just a little bit short for me for what he's achieved to date. I think he could well be the winner. I'm sure I'll look very silly when he hoses up. But taking him on at the prices, my horse has done the opposite to Declan. It's slid out in prices. Noble Yates, he's now around 8-1 with ourselves. He was 6s after that run in the Cotswolds Chase. And I know a few people sort of crabbed that run or expected to see a bit more from him, but I was fairly satisfied with him. I don't think he was huge and unfit, but definitely I think there was a little bit left to work on. You go back earlier in the season, he won on heavy ground at Wexford. Appreciate it was only a 4-runner race, but still shows that the ground's not going to be too much of an issue for him. I think the Aintree run visually still sticks in my mind as one of the most impressive performances of the season. Dashwood Rasher since has obviously run over hurdles twice, finishing second and running good races, I think it's fair to say. But for me, I just think there's unfinished business with this horse. I do really fancy him to make it back-to-back in the Nationals as well. But realistically, I think this horse at 8-1 is an absolute steal each way. He's definitely going to make the frame for me anyway, and I think he may well win it.
So both of you two going to the blue ribbon event of National Hunt Racing, going to the Gold Cup, taking on Galopin Des Champs, the short price favourite, though, with a couple of selections. So you two are braver than me. I am not still looking towards the Gold Cup because I'm going to Vistayers Hurdle, the motley crew that is the bunch that we're going to Vistayers Hurdle with. What a bunch of characters. And we spoke about this race on this show a few weeks ago and just what a bunch of headbangers these horses are. And I'm still sticking with my original selection. I thought that since we last covered this race, he might have shortened up. He hasn't. If anything, he's actually been pushed out half a point. Home by the Lee. I cannot still get my head around why people aren't fancying for this race. When we talk about the form that he's shown this season, he's beaten the dual reigning champion twice already this season in Flooring Porter. And the Christmas Hurdle was won in such impressive style. And that sort of set the benchmark of the season for me. But he proved that was no fluke at Navan last time out, where I think it showed how much better of a horse he is this time around because he caught JJ Slevin by surprise in that because we know he's a bit of a behind the bridle horse. He is a bit lazy through his races, to put it nicely.
He's like our Sam here sometimes, isn't he?
Just needs an extra push every now and again.
Could do with some cheek pieces on every now and again.
Oh, well, we won't be asking him too much about that, though. But, yeah, again, just like Sam, but when you give him the kick, he finds for you.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And that's what caught JJ Slevin by surprise last time out, I think, because as soon as he's asked him when he thought he was going to get behind the bridle, he just took off with him. And he got to the front a bit too soon. And I just think that echoes the improvement that we've seen in Home by the Lee this time around. So for me, he's got the experience, of course. I know he only finished 6th in the race last year, but he's such a better horse this time around.
The other thing as well with that market as well, Antipost, you know, we're recording this early Friday morning. Blazing Cal is going to do his last bit of work with. It's kind of crunch time for him. He might not run. So if you do fancy something, it might be worth getting something on side early because if he goes out, that market is obviously going to crumble, isn't it?
Massively so.
And Marie's Rock could well be going to the mares instead when we've seen this recent rain. So I think that would strengthen your case for Home by the Lee.
Yeah, so hopefully then, if it's all for Home by the Lee, thank you for further giving me confidence anyway for that, guys.
We're becoming team players here.
Oh, exactly. That's it. We're all kind of coming into sync now. So it's Home by the Lee for me in the Sayers Hurdle for my best bet of the championship races. Sam?
Noble Yates me in the Gold Cup, and Declan doesn't know it yet, but we're having a match bet. Loser pays for dinner, Declan, between our selections in the Gold Cup.
I'll take that every day and twice on Sunday.
Can I choose a restaurant at least? Am I invited?
Yeah, but don't.
It's McDonald's if I lose.
Drive-through only for all of us. So you two taking each other on in the Gold Cup. Do let us know, though, your own best bets for the 4 championship races. We're going to move over to the Sky Pad now, where we're going to be getting the lads' best bets for their handicaps, as well as their naps, their lays, and their best each-way plays as well. Lots of ways to play our next section because we're going to be looking at the handicaps at the Cheltenham Festival. Now, Sam, going to you first. Absolute minefields that we're dealing with. So who are you siding with?
Yeah, really tricky. There's just one for me that really stands out in the County Hurdle. It's Hunter's Yarn. I know he's got the Supreme entry as well, but a mark of 147 I think is pretty fair, actually, from the UK handicapper. Obviously, we've seen horses in the past win this race that have been a little bit less exposed, but with the rules changing we have to see a bit more of them. But from what I've seen this horse, I really like his chances. Beat Imagine last time out, who's currently very short price for the Martin Pipe. I think his style of running will suit, although traditionally you want something that can potentially be a little bit more covered up in the county hurdle. But I think he's adaptable. I think he'll go on the ground. Willie Mullins absolutely loves the race. There's just so many things to like about him. 8 to 1 I thought was a bit of a each way steal to nothing. We'll probably be playing extra places on the day. Again, he is in the Supreme, so we need to see where he ends up. But I just thought Hunter's Yarn stood out for me as a horse that really at 8 to 1, I'd have him a little bit shorter.
Yeah, and again with a non-runner money back, so it's worth taking a chance if he does take in that engagement rather than going to the Supreme himself. So Hunter's Yarn, Deck, where are we looking at?
Yeah, it's going to be a good risk at all for me in the Coral Cup, trained by Sam Thomas. A horse who kind of really burst onto the scene at Ascot last season when he finally got some pace to run at. He's a keen character, a headbanger, as we like to reference some of the horses.
I know, we are referencing that a lot, aren't we? To be fair,
yeah.
it's right that we all should be.
True. Yeah, he just pace is the key to this horse. When he gets pace to run at, it helps him settle because, you know, he's pretty forward going. I loved what he did at Carlisle at the start of the season. That was a card that was badly affected by rain. It just kept on raining. And I went through the card again. I think he was one of the only horses on that card to win that pulled as hard as he did. You know, the ground was getting softer by the minute. They had so much rain, and he had the race wrapped up at 2 out, and then he got to the front and he idled his brains out. I think he had so much more. They did step him up to 3 miles for the first time, I think, at Haydock in his next start. But I think the combo of going up in trip and being a little bit too keen just didn't play to his strengths. Back down to the intermediate trip of the Coral Cup, if he gets some pace to run it, I can see him outrunning his price. He's got a big engine, this horse, very big engine. He just needs to settle himself down. We've seen Sam Thomas have great success with targeting horses here at big races during the season, mostly over fences. Our Power springs to mind, and I Will Do It. I'm hoping he can do the same again with Good Risk at All in the Coral Cup.
I can't believe you're not going with Phil Dorr after you tipped him up when he was still a chaser, still a novice chaser.
Well, I suppose we'll have to see if he runs, and as well, he's got a bit of the Irish tax, didn't he? So we've seen, and as well, if he was going for the Coral Cup, I've no idea why they wanted to win that race in Corn Park, but that's for another show.
Exactly, like I'm sure we'll be catching up on that at some point anyway. Now, I am going to the Grand Annual with A Wave of the Sea, who we know that JP has a whole host of entries in this race, but I think he's massively overpriced. I can't quite understand his price for this race, to be honest with you. He's a horse where he holds, the only entry he had for the Cheltenham Festival was a Grand Annual. He also holds a Grand National entry. Not too many Grand Annual horses can claim both of those anyway. But we know that he targeted his usual race at the Dublin Racing Festival. That's the Grade B Handicap Chaser, a race that he's really made his own. I'm not entirely sure he was fully tuned for that, you know. He still ran a solid race in that contest anyway, but I wonder if the Grand Annual has really been the main target for him. He ran in this race last year. He ran respectably enough anyway. That was off of a £2 higher mark than he's running this time around. So for me, he is still a young horse. Yes, he's got plenty of experience to his name, but I can't quite understand the price about him. So A Wave of the Sea in the Grand Annual for me. Deck?
Yeah, it's going to be a Good Risk at All in the Coral Cup for me.
And Sam?
Hunter's Yarn in the county.
Perfect. Right, so they are our best handicap bets. Now it is time to put our money where our mouths are, because it's time to get the lads' naps, lays and each way plays of the Cheltenham Festival. So Declan, you are up first, starting with your nap.
Yes, it's going to be Marie's Rock for me in the Mare's Hurdle. I think this is where they should go. It's the percentage call with all the rain around Cheltenham. I think she's probably got just marginally the best form this season, with maybe more to come. Obviously, winner of the race last season, but she's undoubtedly a much better mare this year. I loved what she did in the Rail Keel. You know, she jumped for fun, she travelled for fun. She just looked in a really good place in that form behind, with Dashel Drasher's obviously been given a boost since. So yeah, it's going to be Marie's Rock for me as my nap in for the 2023 Cheltenham Festival. The lay is going to be going to another mare here, Allegor Devassi in the Mare's Chase. Look, I think she's probably the best horse in the race in terms of ability, but her jumping right has got to be a little bit of a worry. And while she is the best horse in the race, I do concede, I'm not sure she's got as much in hand as the market suggests. So I'm going to lay her. And then the each way bet for me is going to be Time White in the Grand Annual. I love this horse. He was actually fancied for this race last year, but he was a non-runner because of the ground. So the rain around Cheltenham at the moment is not a plus for him. But I loved what he did at Ascot on debut this season. He looked like the horse who's returned in rude health, jumped and travelled for fun. Didn't back up next time out in a very strong handicap race behind Boot Hill and So Scottish. Boot Hill actually went on to frank the form, ran well behind John Bon. So Scottish, who was second, is favoured for the plate. But the key to this horse is being fresh. Hasn't run since then. I think his mark is very workable. Paul Nicholls laid him out for the race. So yeah, it's going to be Time White in the Grand Annual, the best each way for me.
Oh, so you're siding with a mare, you're going against a mare, you're going for a horse that was an on-runner last year. He's throwing everything into the mix, and
like
Declan.
Most things, I don't know whether I'm coming or going. But
we'll see. As long as it all ends well, then we're all happy anyway, aren't we, Dec? Right, Sam, your own best bets.
Yeah, let's get stuck in. Want to kick off with a winner, so my nap's going to be a short price, but I think Shishkin will continue to show what he does best, which is absolutely romp home. I'll probably be even looking at maybe even the length in the odds markets on the website on the day. But like I say, I just think he's an absolutely brilliant horse. Some people have said, oh, are you not worried about, this run coming a bit too soon? I'm not. I think he's in the right hands with Nicky Henderson, and I think the race will cut up nicely enough. I think he'll scare plenty of them off anyway, and I think he'll win impressively. My lay, I actually think Declan's nap will probably be the thing that gets this lay chinned for me. I'm going to break everyone's heart and lay Honeysuckle. I really don't think...
Oh, you have no heart.
I know. It's the story we all want, and I completely understand why, but you have to be concerned that this race that she's contesting, I think, is one of the strongest renewals we've ever seen of the Mares' Hurdle. I think there's plenty of depth to it. I just am slightly concerned by her profile as well. She's obviously not as good as she was. Is she good enough to claim a Mares' Hurdle? Potentially, but favourite for that market, I would leave her well alone. I think there's more than enough to take her on in that. And then my each way is going to be You Wear It Well in the Mares' Novice for Jamie Snowden. Been lucky enough to see this horse at work a few times. Jamie's our BetVictor brand ambassador, and she was absolutely fantastic at Sandown last time out. She won't be inconvenienced by the rain either if the ground was to soften up. They had her in over further trips as well, but I think she'll be absolutely fine at this trip. I think the course will suit. Really looking forward to seeing how she gets on. I think 10-1. She's been pushed back out a little bit actually recently, and I think a double figure price is arguably a little bit insulting. I don't think she's got that much to find with the favourite, for all I respect the favourite in that race.
Oh, so again, you're going against the mare, siding with the mare. The pair of you two kind of on the mare theme here, really. I won't say any more about that anyway, but yeah, and Shishkin arguably could well be a fair enough price, really, with a race that looks like it's going to cut up if he can just revert back to form of Ascot. Now, my own nap is another mare, actually, Impervious in the Mare's Chase, for a lot of reasons, Zach, that you were saying, well, I want to take on Allegory de Vassy, because Allegory de Vassy, last time out, I know that a lot of people said, well, she only jumped off to her right because it was the first, it was a long run up, it wasn't ideal, she had to make the running there, and that's the only reason she jumped off to her right and so violently. You go back to her hurdle days, she still jumped to her right in her hurdle days. Impervious, she is so straightforward. She has the extra bit of experience with the 3 chase starts. Both of the mares have to carry a grade 2 penalty anyway, and she beat the boys last time out as well. So that should all stand her in such good stead. And when we're talking about sort of fine margins of these races, yes, Allegory de Vassy may well have the bigger engine, but Impervious has a better technique, and I would much rather side with better technique, a horse that's going to jump straighter. And for me, she's just a bit of a no-brainer. JP's been splashing the cash, hasn't he, leading up to this festival, and I think that Impervious is probably one of his best buys. My lay is Facile Vega, for the reasons I was saying earlier, that I love Marine Nationale. And Facile Vega, siding with any horse that ran as dismally as he did last time out, how can that possibly be a positive to come into Cheltenham? And my initial reaction after Leopardstown was, well, there must have been a physical issue there. He's probably burst a blood vessel. Such was the speed that he stopped. And I don't think it was because he was taking on high definition on the lead. I think that there was more than that. And obviously it came out a few days later that he was lame. Could I side with him on the back of that, especially when he's a buzzy character? First race of the festival, the roar's going to go up. How is he going to take to that? I couldn't have any confidence in siding with him.
You're going to be screaming even louder to put him off.
Yes, exactly. That's it.
Tapes go
Don't
off.
tell them, because I am with the Mullins camp next week. So, yeah, so hopefully they won't see this.
There, Kate.
No, why not? And I've got Constitution Hill nails and everything at the minute. So really, really making enemies from within, aren't I? But the each way play, though. Now, a bit of a wild card for this. Coulter in the Potemps for Roger Fell. He's a big price for this race. Now, we have seen predominantly flat-based trainers winning the Potemps, as close as last year with Third Wind winning for Hughie Morrison. And I thought it was fascinating that this horse picked up their move to Roger Fell's for the Nick Bradley Racing partnership. He qualified for this race last time out. He ran a huge race at 40-1, finished second at Musselburgh. And that he just looked like he really needed a much better emphasis on stamina. That's what he's going to get at Cheltenham. It's a wide open contest. It's a muddling affair, as we know, the Potemps. So I just thought, at a big price, why not side with Coulter? So they are our best bets then, well, and lays as well for the Cheltenham Festival. Again, do remember to leave your own best bets and selections for the races in the comment section below. We always like to hear from you. But Sam, I'm going to go back to you because BetVictor have a very special offer on the At The Races app. So can you please tell us more about that?
Yeah, an At The Races app exclusive. So if you haven't got it already, make sure you do, because it's an absolutely brilliant resource. You'll find on there that BetVictor are offering new customers 33-1 on Willie Mullins to have a winner at the festival this year, which in previous years is a pretty good bet, let's be honest. I think it'd be about 1 to 100 if you were pricing it up. Like I say, it is new customers only. There are terms and conditions, so do check them out. What I would say, if you're an existing customer, don't worry. Every day we're going to have bet boosts heading out on our Twitter page. Just give us a follow at BetVictor and you'll be able to take advantage of those. If you're an existing customer, new customer, do check out that offer.
That is an unbelievable offer. I had to keep checking backwards again just to think, have I read this correctly? So fair play to you for sticking that up for new customers then. So make sure to take advantage of that. That is everything from us on this Cheltenham Festival preview. Big thank you to Declan and to Sam for all of your work as per usual. Thank you so much to you for watching and for getting involved. Again, do let us know any of your best bets and your selections for the races. Make sure to utilise the attheraces.com website. There really is no other site that comes close to covering Cheltenham as well as that website does. Enjoy the festival yourselves. We won't be here next week because there is a small matter going on next week. I don't know if you might have noticed or not, but we will be back in the near future. It is the greatest show on turf, so make sure you enjoy every moment of it.